There's a class on Shemurini. Um, yeah, I'm still my computer is not equipped with brain function, and I'm even getting back
Okay.
for so I will be um I will be a little bit offline in terms of I won't have my camera because my computer doesn't have the green background. So whatever picture I put on is just blurring it out.
Ah, okay. Emeka, I think if you want to have second device inside, don't connect the audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you have two devices in, one should have audio, the other should just cut it.
Got it. Okay.
And then it will not be echoing so much.
Yeah, because I was using my phone
Mm.
and I'm trying to connect with the device. Okay, I'll connect without the video.
Yeah, connect the video and then cancel audio.
I guess it's okay now.
Mm.
Okay, no audio. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. The sound is good. Should we give people a few minutes to connect?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. We can start 5 minutes over so that
Okay.
people who are late can dial in.
Sounds good. Hello, Nee.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. Hello, Saji.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Yeah, we're going to start.
You can just turn off the audio, Emeka, on one of the devices.
Yeah, it's off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be starting soon, and I'm sure Sergey will take over from there. But I want to welcome everybody once again, and thank you for taking our time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And we will be starting today, and we are pleased and it's a pleasure to have Sergey Dmitry with us today. He's a very busy person, very, very busy. But we appreciate the fact that you even gave us this time out of your busy schedule to just put us through this phase and, to know the things we don't know about Scrum or Agile. And before I hand over to you, I want to ask every one of us just to feel who is in the house. So I'd like you to turn your camera on so we can put names to the faces that will be seen. And that will help us to identify who is who. So once again, thank you for joining. And Sergey, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Emeka, and thanks for inviting me as well. I thought we can do this this session as a ask me anything thing. So instead of me having a presentation laid out up front, I thought it's much better to talk to you guys and ask you what interests you, and we can try to to have a conversation, not just one way, but both ways, so that you can ask things, you can ask for more details, you can share your own experiences as well. So it's kind of, let's try to have a two-way communication here, so that the talk becomes interesting and tailored towards your situations. And I think we can start by warming up. Like we can use chat. I hope everybody is well kind of acquainted with the Zoom by now, sitting on quarantine, most of us for a couple of months now. So let's do a small poll in the chat. How many of you already know about Scrum? Let's do a quick poll. How many of you already know? The chat is here. I don't know, like if you, yeah, okay, one. I have written the chat is here so that there's somewhere a notification on your screen saying that you can, it's easier to find chat when you see this red thing blinking. Yeah, Yameka, you should know after training. Someone does, someone not. Any companies which are like, if the company you are working in maybe already using it, do we have anyone here who is already using it? Don't be shy, kind of jump in on the keyboard and start typing. Okay, so we have a couple of people, like I think half of us are silent, half of us are talking. Out of this half, which is talking and chatting, it looks like 50-50 again, like who is using, who is not, and who is kind of don't know at all. Okay, let's do the same test towards Agile. Like who heard about Agile and knows what it is? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it just 3 of us typing? 4. Okay. Yeah. 4. Wake up, guys. You should be awake, most of you. It's daytime. Come on. Or maybe you are falling asleep already, like in the evening. Hard to think after work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can let me do a short understand the methodology behind it, but not the software application. Okay. I can share my screen with you now. Let's be done with the definitions, so I can give us short definitions of those terms so that we all can maybe have a discussion around it. So if we talk about Agile, then we say it's a mindset. Mindset meaning that when we say the organization is agile, we mean that it has certain culture. So if you want another word, we could say agile is a culture. And this word has been used with this meaning. It's been used since 2001, because in 2001, a document which we call Agile Manifesto was signed. Agile Manifesto. And this document simply tells us like 4 values. And if we look at those values, it says that individuals and interactions over processes and tools. I hope most of you heard those lines before. It's customer collaboration over contract negotiation. It's product working software or working product over comprehensive documentation, and responding to change over following a plan. So as soon as you believe in those values, you could say that you believe in agile values, and you can start saying that you know what the agile culture stands for. So if agile is this culture and mindset, if you look at the other side at Scrum, Scrum is a framework. And when I say framework, I mean simply how, like, it's a way how to organize your work, right? So when we say Scrum, Scrum tells us how can we organize our work. Scrum gives us a few simple guidelines. You could say it's a set of guidelines. That tells you what to do. So again, if we compare Agile and Scrum, Agile tells you what to do. Scrum tells you what to do. Agile tells you how should the culture be. Scrum is doing, Agile is being. So sometimes people kind of misuse this term. Sometimes people kind of don't see the difference. Sometimes people use those terms interchangeably, which would be wrong. Agile is a much bigger thing, right? If you say that Agile is kind of a larger umbrella, because when you look at Agile, you say, this is a culture. This is what kind of culture I want to build in my company. But then if you take Scrum, Scrum is just tells you, okay, how should we organize our work? Is this distinction okay to understand? Put a plus in the chat or minus if you can clearly see the difference. Yeah. So, and then when we talk about Agile and Scrum together, I can ask you a few interesting questions to double check your understanding. Sometimes people say, we do Scrum, that's why we are Agile. Is this true or false statement? You can write in the chat true or false. We do Scrum, that's why we are Agile. True or false? What do you think? Depends on what? We do Scrum, that's why we are Agile. False, false, true. It depends. It is false. How can we prove that it's false? We are agile and follow Scrum. Yes. Okay? Let's test another thing, and then we come back to the answer. If we look at the message from Aditola, like we are agile and we follow Scrum. Do you have to do Scrum in order to be agile? This is another question. Do we have to do Scrum in order to be agile? No. No is the, okay, no, there are other things, right? There are other frameworks. Remember, you can, if we want to look at other frameworks, we could say that apart from Scrum, we have Crystal, we have extreme programming, we have DSDM, we have Kanban. So there are multiple different frameworks that can be used, not necessarily Scrum, right? And even if you don't use any of those frameworks, you can still be agile, because remember, agile is just a certain culture. So as soon as you've got the culture right, you can use whatever, right? And if we go back to the first question where I asked you, like, we do Scrum, that's why we are agile. Kind of most of us agreed that it's a false statement. It is false because, and unfortunately, I would say it's false. Unfortunately, most of companies today who are claiming that they are doing Scrum, they are still far away from being agile. So it looks like when Scrum is applied in an organization without agile mindset, it becomes cargo cult. Like, the people have certain roles, people have certain meetings, but they do it without a proper culture behind. And that I would say in this case that they are wasting a lot of energy trying to apply all the principles of Scrum, but with the wrong mindset, it will not work, or you will not achieve the same benefits that you could have achieved if you had the culture right. Good. Any questions here before we depart Agile and Scrum and then can move on to the next thing? Any questions? Anybody to want to go deeper on something? All good? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Scrum. So what is Scrum? If we go deeper, because Agile, we just said it's a mindset, and we said if you want to know, go to Agile Manifesto and you know. But if we want to talk about Scrum, then I can show you this this picture. So Scrum is a framework, something we already said. It's a simple framework that tells you how to organize your work. In this framework, we say that we have 3 roles. And I think most of you already heard about those roles. If we talk about roles, I can draw here. Give me a second. So when it comes to roles, we have a product owner, short PO, and on the picture we have product owner in the top left corner. We have Scrum Masters, and this term is also, I mean, this role is probably the most known from Scrum Master. And we have development team. This is the 3rd role. I have dev team at the top right corner. So only 3 roles. And we say in Scrum, we don't need more roles. Product owner is a person with the vision who tells us where are we going, right? Holding the vision and oh, okay, yeah. So it's a person holding the vision and telling, like, it's a captain of a ship, right? Saying that, hey guys, let's sail with me. And then we have a crew of a ship, which is a development team. And then we have a scrum master who is kind of, if you want an easy parallel to real life, let's say it's a team's coach, right? As we have coaches for sports teams, we could say that a scrum master is a team's coach, working on the efficiency of the team. So 3 roles, and then Scrum has 6 events. So in Scrum, we work iteratively. Iteratively means that we do sprints. Like one iteration is usually between 1 and 4 weeks long. And we call those iterations sprints. You probably heard about sprints as well. So as soon as the sprint starts, we typically start with the planning. Imagine we are having 2-week sprints. In the sprint planning, we will be thinking what can be done by our team in the next 2 weeks. So when we have this planning done, we start working. Every day we will have a short synchronization meeting for the whole team, where the whole team will be gathering together in one place saying, hey guys, do we still believe we can do it, right? And every day we will be checking. It's a short 15 minutes sync where we say, hey, do we believe we can do it? If we believe we can do it, let's move on. We will be regularly doing a meeting called Product Backlog Refinement Meeting, which is a meeting with the focus on looking a little bit ahead from where we are now, thinking about what we will be doing next sprint and the sprint after it. So like instead of having only a short-term focus, we are also stopping a little bit, lifting our heads up, and we want to have some outlook into the future. And that's what we do on refinement meetings. And then at the end of the sprint, we have 2 meetings. On one of them, which is called sprint review, we show final product, whatever we have built in 2 weeks' time. We show it to the customers and we want their feedback, right? We say, hey, look, during these 2 weeks, we have created something. Here it is. Please tell us what you think. And last thing that happens in the sprint is another meeting called sprint retrospective. In this meeting, we kind of stop and reflect back on the process with which we have been working. And in retrospect, it's a typical lessons learned thing where we think, how can we improve our internal process? The last 4 elements of Scrum, they are called artifacts. We have product backlog. Product backlog is a wish list. It's simply a checklist with things that we want to do with our product. If you can think about all the ideas that you want to implement in your product, and if you write them down, you end up with something we call product backlog. And then whatever we have chosen to work during our current sprint, we call sprint backlog. So this is a subset of product backlog where we say, okay, out of all those 100 wishes, we will finish 4 this sprint. And this becomes sprint backlog. The third artifact, we call it product increment. So, and this is very interesting because Scrum forces us to have something tangible at the end of every sprint. So imagine if you have been working for 2 weeks, during those 2 weeks, the team must finish something that we can give to our customers, to users, so that the users can give us feedback. And it's a mandatory thing, so we must have something tangible. We cannot tell the client, you know, we have done some PowerPoints, or we cannot say we have laid out 60% of the architecture. This is not good enough. So Scrum requires us to make something tangible that the user can touch. 1 feature, 2 features, maybe a couple of features, but something that the user can give us feedback on. And the last artifact in Scrum is called definition of done. It's in the middle of the picture here, where I put DOD, definition of done. This is another checklist where we agree together, the whole team, on what we call done. Because sometimes the developer will scream, done, it works on my machine, right? And from done, it works on my machine, it could take another half a year till things go into production properly, right? So this is why we need this definition, and we want to agree on when can we start screaming done, done, done. So these are all mandatory elements of Scrum. So what I just told you, there were 13 simple elements. If you've got those like 3 roles, 6 events, and 4 artifacts, this is in essence the basics of Scrum. And I want to stop here a little bit and ask you, like, is this all right to understand? Or you want to, like, if you want to ask me anything here, ask it now. But this is how Scrum looks from the helicopter. Yes, Inia, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and just ask.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. So when you do DOD, okay, because I like to put visualization into things, right? So let's say we are building a software. Let's just put it like in a very short way.
Yeah.
A library software. Let's just put it simple, right?
Good.
So what would be a DOD? I mean, a stage 1 DOD. Let's put it like that, because we said everything's about sprints, right? And so I believe that once we finish a backlog, we go back to the product backlog and we checklist it, right?
Yes. So let me show you how DOD works. I can create a blank page. Look at this thing. So imagine we are building this library software and we have a backlog. And in the backlog, let's say that we have a few items there. Like first thing we need to, I want to register myself as a customer in your library, right? So let's call it customer registration. And then when I have registered myself as a customer, then I want to loan a book. And then free, I want to return a book. And then maybe I want some functionality which allows the library to remind a person to return a book. So those are items in our product backlog. Is this product backlog? Is this all right to understand?
Yeah, I mean, we can work with that.
Yeah, okay, so this is our simple product backlog. This is what we have in the backlog. And then if our team creates definition of done, let's say like this. We have coded whatever needs to be coded. We have created at least one unit test. Another thing that we need to do, we need to document. Document the feature. Next thing, let's say that I want to create at least one automated test. At least one automated test. And then let's say I want to move the feature into test environment. So this is our definition of done. And I am a developer. I go into the, like, we start working on our backlog items. So I start working on customer registration. I sit and I code, kind of, I write unit tests, I document. I think I'm done. Before I say that this item is done, I go to definition of done and I start checking. Code it. Oh yes, I done coding. At least one unit test is written. Oh yes, I have done it. Document the feature. Yes, I've done it. At least one automated test is written. Oh shit, I haven't. I cannot call my item done. I go back, I start writing an automated test. And now I come back, a definition of done, I check, okay, it's done. And it says move the feature into test environment. Okay, I haven't done it. So when you have done all the things from here, you could say item number 1 is done. And then I take the next item. I take loan a book and I go the same procedure, right? I code, I write, and you can extend definition of done. The more you write on this checklist of the definition of done, the harder it becomes, right? Because I can, for example, write in definition of done, it needs an approval from, I don't know, from a chief architect. Then it simply adds more job, but it also defines what needs to be done before you can say, I am done. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And the ultimate definition of done. So if we really want to embrace agile mindset, you want to extend, you want to add to your definition of done until you have there something that it says works in production. So in prod. So we want to go to production as often as possible. So big companies, the big modern companies today, like Facebooks and Netflixes and Amazons and Googles, they all practice something they call continuous delivery. So they go to production all the time, right? There is, for example, if you contrast it to some old companies, we have companies who go to production every quarter, right? They have 4 releases a year. This is really bad. In 2020, you will soon be out of business. If you do quarterly releases, if you do monthly releases, if you're, I would say if your releases are more seldom than weekly, you are close to your death as a company, because all those modern companies today, they work with continuous deployment, continuous integration, tests, automation, and Facebook goes to production every 9th second. Think about it. Something new pops up on Facebook every 9th second. And of course, if your company has 4 releases a year, I know you're gonna die, because imagine if we are customers. If we come to a bank and the bank says, you know, guys, I have 4 releases a year. And I am, as a customer, I want to ask my bank, guys, can you create a new feature for me? And the bank says, sure, you can have this new feature. Next release is 1st of September. And I don't want to wait 3 months. If I can find another bank who can say, hey, dude, you can have your new feature 2 weeks from now. Of course, as a client, I want to move to the company which has shorter time to market, right? If I come and I ask for something, I want those changes to be implemented as soon as possible. And if you have 3-month release cycles, it's too late, right? I as a customer, I am not willing to wait for 3 months till your release. And younger companies will be coming, they will be applying. So imagine if your company today, and just out of curiosity, let's do a poll now. How many releases per year or per week or per hour do you do, guys, in your companies today? Let's do this poll. Like, use chat and type. How often do you release in your companies? Hey, continuous release, nice. Sammy is lucky. For public sector, release is a fortune, yeah. Sometimes they just work and never release, right? And then after 3 years and $100 million spent, they say, oh shit, it didn't work, we have to start over. This is a typical public sector release. But the rest of you guys, come on, don't be sleepy. We have 20 people here. Come on, guys, be active, wake up. Release every 6 months. Yeah, that's seldom. Depends on the industry. Used to work in a company where the project, at least one product in 2 years. I mean, creating a product in 2 years is okay, but if you create your product iteratively, you could have been making more money, right? Instead of waiting 2 years working on a project, you could have used, if you used Scrum, for example, you could have done 3, 4, 5 iterations and then release something which is already working. And maybe you just worked for half a year and you can start making money, and then you still continue working on the product. But if you guys are kind of suffering from long time between releases, this is something to be actually seriously considering, and kind of it's a problem. It's a problem that can kill your company today, because tomorrow some younger company will start copying what you do and doing their releases shorter, and you will go out of business because they will be taking away your clients. Creating products in 2 weeks and go through testing in 1 week. I would say manual testing in 2020 is bad. So if we do manual testing, we are lagging behind. In 2020, all your tests should have been automated, and that will allow you to shorten the cycles, the time to market, to shorten the cycles even more. Releases twice a year is very seldom, right? And again, the idea here is that the sooner we release, the more feedback we get from the client, and the higher are the chances that we can figure out what the hell our clients need. Yeah, go ahead, Ini.
So if we continue to use the example that you are that we started with, which is the library example. Okay.
Yeah.
So we are talking of a fresh new application here, right?
Yeah.
So example of a completed DoD will be like we are moving the customer registration part of the application to production and test it in production whether it's going to work in live environments. Is that what we are saying here?
Yeah. So imagine. Yes, imagine I have created, my definition of done says live. So don't, let me remove it. So not into test environment, but it says move the feature into prod. Let me write it here, move the feature into prod. So if my definition of done says like this, then what I will be doing, I am finishing customer registration. This is just the first feature. Yesterday we had nothing, right? We started with ground zero. Today, as a developer, I worked for 3 days, and I am finishing customer registration. Now it's possible to register like, okay, Sergey is a customer, and here is his phone number, right? So phone and email and my name. As soon as this is moved into production, we can start using it, right? The library can already create a list of all the library users, all the library visitors, because it's in production, it's working. And then I, as a developer, I am working for 3 more days. And another 3 days have passed. I have created a kind of loan a book feature. So now I can attach that this guy have taken this book. And I also put it in production, and I start using it already. I don't have to wait till the whole product is done. So when the product is final, maybe it's gonna have 100 features, but I don't want to wait. So imagine one approach could be that you build and build and build and build and build for the whole, for half a year. And after half a year, when you have built all 100 features, you test it, you go to production, and you start using it. But you spend half a year waiting. Here, I want to go to production after 3 days, and I can already start using it, and I can start making money in the library, because now I have my tool. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So to talk from a, I mean, I don't want to dominate the scene so that everybody will think it's only this guy that is talking. I want to talk from a layman. I'm an IT guy, but I want to talk from a layman language. A layman person will say, hey, we are talking about a library application. You want to tell me that it's only customer registration alone that's going to work in? Because some from the product, from the backlog list, there are some dependencies, there are some things that are attached to each other. So even though customer registration might be finished, it may not make a whole complete application that will be acceptable from the client, from the product owner. So which means, in this case, what is it that we're going to wait the other dependency finished before being released? Or we since it is iterative in nature, we spread it among all developers and we come together and we push.
But if you look at our backlog now, all the items there, they are independent of each other. You can release them and they have their kind of, and this is how we want to create backlogs. When we create product backlog, we try to create independent items, independent from each other. Because if you look at this one, hey, customer registration makes sense. Even if I don't know which kind of books you have already taken, it still makes sense that, hey, at least I know your contact details. I can call you, right? And I can do the rest with pen and paper, right? So and then one more feature comes. Now I can loan you a book, but I don't have any return. It is still valuable for the library, because now they can stop doing manual registration on paper, they can do electronic registration. And so it will be incrementally growing. The product is growing incrementally while the features are independent from each other. Good. Other questions? Do we have, I think questions make it more interesting. So just go ahead, and if you have more, bring it on. Emeka, yeah, go ahead.
So just want to confirm that doesn't mean if I, kind of use this framework and start my process or my work, I'll be able to kind of satisfy my customer on time, other than the traditional methodology that we were using before.
Mm. So let us take a look at, let us compare those two approaches. Here is a customer, and here we have a vendor. And typically, if we talk about the old approach, so in the old approach, the customer and the vendor, they meet, and the vendor will say, hey, the customer, can you please create specification? Like, what do you need? Tell me, right? And the customer will be working, writing, I don't know, 100 pages of documentation because this is a specification of what the customer needs. And then the vendor will take this specification, the vendor will take it to his offices, and the vendor will ask his designers to create design documentation, like how will this look like? And then when design is ready, then we can move to the next phase. And maybe this is where our architects will be creating architectural specification, kind of trying to lay out the foundation, right? How the foundation gonna be. And then the business analysts will spend some time and they will be writing functional specification, like what kind of features this software gonna have. And then development will start. So here we will start our development, and something will be done eventually. So here we have a done product. This whole process is usually pretty long. So imagine this was a library new software project. We thought it's gonna take us 9 months to give birth to this baby, right? So 9 months is needed to do this project. And of course, we saved last month for testing. We said, okay, last month we're gonna be testing. A lot of the time, when we approach this date, when we should start testing, a typical IT project is usually late, right? We are not done yet, and all the vendors in all the world, they will be praying to different gods, but they will be praying to different gods about one and the same thing. They all want, all the vendors will be praying for change requests. If change request comes from the customer, the vendor can say, hallelujah, all my prayers been heard. Thank you, God, thank you. Because, and this typically happens. The customer will come to the vendor and say, hey, you know what, we forgot one little thing. And the vendor will make a serious face and say, holy shit, how can you do this to me? Like, we've spent 8 months already, we laid out all the architecture, all the designs are done, and now you are coming with all these changes, right? Remember, change requests means that we will move the date and you owe us more money because you change your mind. And of course, in the contract, it says that you cannot change your mind, right? So, and as soon as the customer, so my own theory is that because of the change requests, not all the vendors in all the world have, they haven't gone bankrupt because of the change requests. If it wouldn't be change requests, they would all been bankrupt already. This is my theory. because change request usually happens and it saves the ass of the vendor. Otherwise, the vendor would struggle. And this is what we have done. Like, who have seen in a typical IT project today, and we have a lot of statistics on this. A typical IT project today is 1.6 times longer, and it costs you twice the money. This is what we have today as a typical situation. Interestingly enough, this change request and project being late, it's not the end of the story, because when the vendor finally shows the end product that he was baking for 9 months to the customer, what will be the reaction of the customer? Who have seen the typical reaction of the customer when the vendor shows for the very first time what they have created? Disappointment, yes. Usually they say, holy shit, guys, what the hell have you been smoking out there, right? This is not what I asked for. How dare you show me this thing, right? And then they start fighting. They start fighting. They try to compare. The customer says, you know what, guys, my initial idea was, and initial idea is this black target. This is what the customer was hoping to get, right? And then as soon as the customer starts writing it down on paper, he already makes some mistakes and he describes something different. He is a little bit off target. The customer couldn't describe it correctly. And then the vendor takes this thing, and designers create design specification. When designers are also human beings, they also make some mistakes. They describe something slightly different, slightly off target. And then architects, they are also human beings. They also spend some time trying to understand what those documents kind of mean. They also do some deciphering, and they also introduce some mistakes. So the green thing from architects is slightly off target again. And then we have this functional spec, which is done by some other people, and they also human beings. They also make mistakes. So this thing also moves. And then developers, they just develop their own thing, right? Because they usually don't read those documents that they get from architects and designers and BAs. So, and then we start fighting in a court who has done a mistake. Sometimes the vendor is doing, like, vendor has many more chances of doing a mistake here. So often the customer will catch the vendor saying, hey, vendor, look, I have written black on white what I need, and you gave me something else. In this case, the vendor loses, and the vendor has to redo or kind of redo for his own money and his own time. Sometimes the situation is slightly different when the vendor shows to the customer and tells him, you know, dude, you got what you have described. And the customer will say, yeah, you know what, this is what I described, but this is not what I need. And in this case, it will still be a lose scenario for the vendor because the customer is still not happy, right? If you are not happy, if you are not having happy customers, they will not come back. And if your chances of getting repeat business are zero, you cannot grow your company, right? So even if the vendor finds a mistake that the customer made, the customer is still not happy. The customer will still be saying, guys, that's why we hired you, right? You are a professional. We were expecting that you will help us with this. So this old traditional way of working usually led us to projects being late, projects being over budget, and projects delivering some shit that the customer doesn't want, right? So, and this was kind of, this is how we were developing software for 60 years, and a lot of companies are still doing this. Who have seen a situation like this in real life? You can use chat and say yes or no. who have seen something similar in real life? Anyone? Yep, yep, a lot, always, always is painful. But yes, this is how we have been developing software for many years, right? And with the Agile movement, we've got a different approach, and this is what I can draw here from scratch. Imagine when we are saying we want to use Scrum and we want to apply Agile mindset, the situation becomes very different. We say, here is our customer, here is our vendor. The vendor tells the client, you know what? Forget about those 300 pages of documentation. I don't need it. Tell me this new software for your library. What should it be able to do? And think about the most important features. And then the customer starts saying, hey guys, I want to kind of register a client, and then I want to loan a book and then return a book. So as the customer starts writing those things, the vendor will say, oh, it's enough to me. I start working. We go. And the vendor goes away. The vendor starts working on two first features, register a client and loan one book, right? So after 2 weeks of time, the vendor comes back and the vendor shows something that is already working. The vendor says, look, now you can register your customers and you can get their name, you can get their phone number, and you can get their email and their home address. This is working already. And the customer's typical reaction would be, holy shit, guys, what the hell have you been smoking? I thought that when I register a customer, I will have his, I don't know, like I will have his personal identity number, and then I will have his, I don't know, like the keys to his home, whatever, right? So, but we will say, hey, you know what? It's just been 2 weeks. It's so good that you have more ideas about what you need. We will change it in the next sprint. What is the next most important thing on your backlog? And the customer says, hey, you know what? After I register a client, I want to be able to loan him a book, right? And the vendor will go again, work for another 2 weeks, and come back with slightly bigger package. Now the registration will be changed the way the customer told us. And we also now have a possibility of kind of loaning a book. And already here, we could say, hey guys, let's stop here. Let's launch our simple application already. Let's not wait 9 months. Maybe it's been 2 weeks plus 2 weeks. After 1 month, we say, let's launch it and let's start using it. The library will start making money. Because imagine if today the whole library operates manually, they're writing on paper and pen, and it's a disaster probably to track all those things manually. If they can automate just those two simple things, registering their clients and loaning a book, they can already go live. And it allows them to make money or start saving money, right? And then another 2 weeks, and they have more functionality, which they can launch and they can start making money. So we switch to this iterative and incremental approach, which allows us to go to the market much sooner. So instead of waiting, remember, the first project was taking 9 months to finish, right? Here, after 1 month, we are already in production and we start using it. So that's the biggest idea behind Scrum, right? How to shorten time to market. Do we have any questions, any comments here? Yes, go ahead. Enia.
So, so, in- so in a nutshell, uh, we are just looking at the prioritize user stories to make up our backlogs, and we sprint towards it. We make an iteration. We burn it through. We burn through it. Is that what I mean? That is everything in the whole essence. Like we are only using user stories, but we prioritize these user stories.
Yep.
Then make it into product backlog. Then we burn through it using sprints.
Yep.
Then we release at every stage.
Yes. So we try to release every sprint, right? And then it starts, we start learning from the customer sooner, because all good ideas come when the customer starts touching it, right? If you sit and read documentation, you don't know what you really get, right? So, and 9 months from now, of course, it's going to be too late, because we have built the whole thing, and now it's too late doing any changes. What Scrum allows us to do is to do a short iteration, 2 weeks, and we show to the customer, and the customer says, oh guys, sorry, I was thinking it should be different. And we say, beautiful, because we haven't spent all the money, we haven't spent all the time, we still have time to redo it. And it allows us to get feedback faster. So what we actually are getting here, we get feedback, so we can change, and we can get some money if the customer is ready to pay. And it's sooner, right? We get it much sooner than before.
So lastly from my hand, so are you using the word customer and product owner interchangeably, or is different?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
Okay.
customer and product owner to me is the same thing.
Okay.
So I would prefer to have it this way, right? I put a crown on the head of a customer and say, customer, you tell us what needs to be done, and we do it, right? So the customer is typically a product owner. Good, excellent. Do we have more questions? Guys, I still think you are too silent. Apart from an ear. Akin, yeah, go ahead.
I actually sent my message privately to Hemeka. He didn't respond. I didn't know why he didn't respond. Yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Yeah, I'm new into IT, and I see a lot of people having Scrum, Agile certification. Is it only applicable to IT alone? If yes, if no,
Yeah.
what about the consuming company that doesn't produce anything? They're just consuming. Because I know some companies that they just consume. They're not producing anything. So how do they set targets? How do they do that?
Yeah, so originally, I can give you kind of a twofold answer. So first part of the answer is originally Scrum was developed in IT and for IT projects. So the original idea was IT product development, right? And the more complex, the better. So originally Scrum was introduced to highly complex IT product development. This was the initial idea because it allowed to battle complexity, right? Because you do short iterations, you learn as you go. You do something small, you launch it to clients, and you learn from them, and you can tailor it. So it was created originally for highly, let me write this down. So Scrum originally was introduced for highly complex IT product development. So this was the original idea, but then the years passed by. The year was 93, 92, 93, when Scrum was introduced. And then, of course, now we have been using it for almost 30 years, right? So with years, as time went by, people from different industries, they started to look at Scrum and they started to borrow it. So today we have a lot of examples. Scrum is used by marketing companies. Scrum is used by sales companies. Scrum is used by churches today. Scrum is used by hardware companies. There is actually a car today that is built with Scrum. The company, it's really, I can drop you and let me find it. Wiki. The name of the company is Wikispeed, and those guys are doing a car. I put the link in the chat. So those of you who are interested, those guys are applying Scrum in hardware today. So with time, I could say that Scrum was borrowed by many different industries and it's successfully applied outside IT today. Good. Emeka, do you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, is it the same framework that Tesla is using? Tesla?
I'm not sure. I never read anything about Tesla. I never been inside, so I don't know.
Okay.
But Wikispeed is an interesting thing. Like, you read about them. They are open source. They are building an open source car, and this is fascinating. Taylor, yes, go ahead. I see your hand. You can unmute yourself and just talk to us.
So, but to put it in for primary.
Because we lost you. We lost your sound. Can you repeat what you said?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. So I said we can basically still say that on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, 4.5 over 5 of Scrum project outside there presently, they are still IT projects and they are still IT product development.
Yeah, I would say still probably 80% of them are IT. Yeah.
Because I mean I see the sense in people trying to borrow other industry trying to borrow Scrum as a framework.
Yeah.
If one thing, because of the time it takes to reach the end goal, right? So it saves time, it saves money, you learn from it, it's lessen the error that it's not prone to error like maybe other methodology in quotes, right? But for instance, if you're not producing anything, personally, I think you might not find a value. You might not make use of the whole value of the framework if you are not producing something.
Yeah, but services, I think services also can be applying those principles. Yeah. Good. Theo, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Though I joined late, but just a quick question for you, right? I've listened to you, and I know that when it comes to Scrum, it kind of uses a kind of agile methodology whereby things are done in iterations. But one thing I observe, right? Scrum is really good. Like you said, you can save costs, you can save time because most of the issues are detected quickly because it's broken down into iterations. So my question now, right, because I know we do, back in Africa, we actually do agile methodology. But one thing I've noticed with agile methodology is because it's broken into iterations, right? Kind of people bring in new things and they kind of, result to a scope creep. So I just want to find out how can we prevent scope creep? We call it scope creep in using agile methodology or iterations because, like I said, everything is broken down into iterations whereby you can immediately quickly detect what the problem is. But in the process of detecting the problem, it leads to scope creep. And that way, you can see that maybe what you initially planned to do eventually, the end result might be slightly different. It's got into a scope creep. So how do you correct or, make sure that it doesn't result to a scope creep? Thank you.
Excellent question. Thanks for bringing this up. So remember those two pictures that I showed you, the traditional approach and then the new approach, the agile approach. So if we talk about traditional approach, then we have a golden triangle of project management. We have scope, we have time, and we have budget. And then we tell our project managers, guys, your job is to make sure that the scope is not creeping, the time is not overrun, the budget is not overspent as well, right? And a typical project manager starts working. The scope is 300 pages of specification, right? So this is easy. The project manager watches closely the scope. And then, unfortunately, our project is slightly late on time. We start compensating. Hey guys, let's work overtime. Overtime costs money. You are now overspending the budget. And then you want to, okay, now the project is late. We need to add more people on this project. When you add more people to a project which is already late, it becomes even more late. And then you compensate and it brings more money. So when we finally are done, remember, 1.6 times longer and twice the money. This is just a statistics on a typical IT project today. And this is the old world. And then we split it. In the new world, we kind of, in essence, what happened in the old world, if I divide this kind of, I put this green line, things above green line is fixed. So the scope was fixed, but everything below the line is variable. We ended up with variable time and variable budget, unfortunately, in a traditional project. You are late and you are over budget, always. With agile mindset, we asked ourselves, hey, who wants your project to be on time and on budget every time? And every people said, hey, yes, sure, we want to have our projects to be on time and on budget every time. So we said, okay, let's take a look how we can fix the budget and time. So we want to fix the time. We want to fix budget. It's actually very easy to do because you say, with my iterations, right? I want to go in production after every iteration. So time is not an issue. I can always launch on the date that I want. So let's say we are building this library application and today is 8th of August. I want to launch 1st of January and I fix the date and I say, hey guys, I don't care how many features I'm gonna have. Oh, sorry, first. So 1st of January, I want to launch and I don't care how many features we're gonna have by that time. Because most probably we're gonna have many, right? Because we have been working till that long. And then I also want to fix the budget. I say we only have $100,000 to spend on this library application. As soon as we run out of money, we stop. This is also easy to fix, right? So I fix the time, I fix the budget, and I will not fix the scope. So remember, things above green line are fixed, things below green line are variable. So my scope is actually not fixed. When you are applying this new kind of new mindset, agile mindset, your scope is never fixed. You are actually playing with the scope. You don't know how many features gonna be in production by 1st of January. Maybe 150 features, maybe 100, maybe 50. But what you do know if there's only, like, imagine you were dreaming about 150 features, but 1st of January came suddenly and it caught you with your pants down in the woods. You are not done, sorry, but you are done with the most important features, because you've been always coming to the customer every second week and asking, hey guys, what's next? Now we've done registration, what's next? I say, hey, I must loan a book. Okay, we will do this. What's next? And then he says, oh, next important is I must return the book. What's next? Oh, I want a reminder. So even if you are not done with all the features, because they are independent from each other and because they have a separate clear value, it's fine. So we are actually playing with the scope, and we don't fix the scope. I don't know how many features going to be there. So that's the answer to your question. Yes, Inia, go ahead.
So, I mean, that's a very, very good illustration. And I also think because you prioritize your scope, let's just be like that, there won't be a scope creeping, because you prioritize your scope and you're going back to your customer.
Yes.
Everything is in priority, is in order that the customer wants it, not the order that you, the vendor, wants it.
Exactly.
It's the customer that dictates this thing, right?
Yes.
So you ask him, then you have prioritized your scope. So it is order of priority that you are burning everything down. So it will be so hard for anything to creep in, because again, the money is already fixed anyways. So it's whatever it is important to him as a customer or as a product owner that brings to you that, you know, okay, let's do this. Again, it's based on your money. It's not mine, but the money is fixed already.
Exactly. So whatever customer is willing to do, we say, hey, we're going to do it. As long as you think it's important, we do it for you, right? And you will never spend more money because we already fixed the money, right? And so, and we will never run over time. And there is actually more. Because we work iteratively, we can say, dude, you know what? You can stop sooner. If on the way, imagine the customer was thinking, I need 150 features and I want to work 9 months. And then he starts working with iterations, And then after he has worked for 5 months, so only 5 months has come, the customer decides suddenly that, guys, I already got so many good features that I don't need more. I want to stop now. Forget about the rest, right? And we say, hey, sure, you can have your money back. Like, we haven't spent all the money yet, because the beauty of it is that the cost of every sprint is exactly the same, because we fix the team. So imagine if I have a team and I have 5 people on the team, and those people have $10,000 salary per month, just to make it easy, right? So if we have here, we have 10K, 10K, 10K. If we do 2-week sprints, then we know that 1 2-week sprint will cost us $25,000. And this is what the customer is paying, right? Every sprint. And we can say in the beginning of the sprint, we can ask the customer, you know what? You're now gonna pay us $25,000. This is what we can deliver, because when we are doing planning, we tell him, look, we will deliver registration of the book, return of the book, and the reminder about the book. Do you want it for $25,000 or not? And the customer says, yeah, I want returns. I want all those things. Yes, I want. And then we say, okay, good. Then we do it. It costs you 25. In the next sprint, the customer, we tell the customer, you know what? We will give you a reminder when it rains outside. And then we will give you a reminder to your customer if it snows outside and if the road is slippery, and it will cost you $25,000. And the customer thinks, like, guys, you know what? I think those are bells and whistles that I don't need in my library, right? That will be too much. For $25,000, I don't want you to do this. Thank you, I have enough, right? So as soon as we see that we are kind of finding features that the customer is not valuing high, the customer has an option of saying, hey guys, no, stop. I don't need more, please. Kind of, I'm fine. And he will not spend the money. And if we stop sooner, imagine that this happens here, that we discover that all the rest of the features, they are just bells and whistles that the customer doesn't want. We say, hey, drop it, we will give you money back, right? We haven't spent all the money. You were initially thinking that we're going to spend 100,000, we just spent 70. Here is $30,000 back, give us 10% bonus because we've been doing so great job, right? And that could be a good thing. Yeah.
That's where my question comes in. As a businessman, am I going to give you the upfront, the 100,000 upfront? Are you able to give me back? Eventually, we spend 70,000, and I'm not giving you back the 30%. Is it the money? The money will be with the guy designing.
We typically agree on the bonus. So if the project is stopped sooner, the vendor will get 10% bonus of whatever money is saved. So
saved, not original money is not with the guys.
So imagine we had $100,000 for 9 months. We worked 5 months. We already spent 60,000. So 60K is gone. But we have 40K left. And the customer says, guys, I don't want to continue. I am fine. Give me my money back. But the vendor will get, and you can agree what this bonus will be. You could say 20% bonus of whatever is left. So out of those 40,000, 8,000 will be given to the vendor. And it is actually really good for the vendor, because you as a vendor, you improve your income, right? This is money for nothing. Your customer stopped sooner, your customer is happy, and the customer pays you more because you finished sooner. And then this is kind of win-win for everybody.
Would that be stated in your agreement, like the penalties and all those stuff, before you even commence the project?
Yeah, we typically put it in the agreement that we say if the customer chooses to stop sooner, the vendor has right for a bonus.
Sure.
Yeah, makes sense. And imagine there is also something we put in the contract that we say, hey, in the old world, all the changes were connected with the change request, which meant more money and more time, right? In this new world, we can put it in the contract that customer, all your changes are free, right? Because the customer comes with changes, because customer can change backlog as we go, and all the changes are free, right? You can change as much as you want. We are fine. And this is a big selling point. Inia, yes, go ahead.
So to move ahead a little bit, so now, so the way we have been, I've been getting the feeling is like, as an independent person, okay? Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm working within, because again, if I'm working for an organization, the organization is the vendor, because it's the one bringing the project or whatever. So but now, what is the core role of the Scrum Master, so that we can just move forward? The core role of the Scrum Master, as in everything now, is it the supervision? Is it the coordination of the IT teams? Is it the coordination of the developer? Is it like a surrogate for both the product owner and the developer, which is the technical guys? Is it independent of independence, or it just work closely with the product owner alone and just blah blah blah?
Okay, I get it. So when it comes to Scrum Master, I can bring this analogy that we just discussed. So here we have product owner. So product owner is the king. Product owner decides what we're gonna do. So product owner has the backlog, right? Product owner prioritizes the backlog and says, hey guys, this is we do first, and this is we do second, and this is we do third. So he is always kind of working on the backlog, moving it up and down, and deciding where are we going. So the product owner is the king. Product owner is responsible for money, right? And then we have our development team. So product owner is, let me put value. Product owner must make sure that we bring value, right, as a team. Then the team focuses on quality. The team decides how to do things, right? So they decide how. And then if we think about a Scrum Master, let's say that there is a Scrum Master and he is or she is a coach to the team. So team's coach. And team's coach think about efficiency of his team, right? And for example, like I can tell you what Scrum Master is not doing. Scrum Master is not babysitting the team. So he cannot go and force them to do anything, right? So for example, Scrum Master is the role which is removed of any authority whatsoever. So no authority. You work as a coach. The coach, I can give you a couple of metaphors to help you understand this. Imagine a mirror. The mirror never judges you. You look in the mirror and you decide yourself what you want to do differently, like if your hairstyle is right or wrong, right? So mirror never judges you. And the same way, Scrum Master never judges the team. Scrum Master just tells them, hey guys, I see you are doing this and that. Does this help you or does it hurt you? I want you to think about it. So the same way the sports coach is standing kind of out of field, watching how the guys are moving on the field. And then when they come back, he tells them like, hey guys, let's take a look at the video recording, how you've been moving there, and let's analyze how it happened. And look, you are running here, you are doing here like this and like that. But the coach will never judge them. The coach will never blame them, right? Because the players are actually out there playing themselves. And the coach is not playing himself on the field, right? So, but the coach always thinks how the team can improve, how the team can become better. What how can I teach my guys, I don't know, how to resolve conflicts, how to take decisions better, right? So he is helping. Another analogy that I like to use is the metaphor, like imagine you are a gardener that wants to grow beautiful flowers. Does it help to yell at the flowers? Grow, I said, grow faster. It doesn't, right? It doesn't help yelling at flowers. They will not grow faster. But what you can do as a gardener, you can change the environment in which they grow, right? You can pick the right type of soil. You can more shade or more sun. You know what kind of, how much water they like, protect them from wind. So you as a coach of a team, you will try to change the environment in which people are working, trying to create the environment better. But you are not the project manager, for example, when you are Scrum Master. You are not telling people what to do. You are trying to make them think so that they can improve themselves. Yes, Inia.
So, so in a nutshell, I mean, you're like a facilitator.
Yes.
Good. But the question, like, for instance, in business analysis, we have deliverables. We do deliverables. As a business analyst, I have my deliverables for every project I'm doing. So the question will now be, what will then be the deliverables of a Scrum Master? Because if you said it's not actively involved. I mean, technically, it's not
Yes.
It's not responsible for anything except facilitating. So if project goes south, who is at fault?
Product owner. So if the team doesn't deliver results, the product owner will be shut. But I want to come back to your question. What are the deliverables of a Scrum Master? What are the deliverables of a team sports coach? Tell me.
It's trophy, you win. The
come
round
on,
goal is,
come on. There is only one guy who wins in the whole season. Should we fire all the other guys?
Sorry?
Should we fire all the other trainers? Because they didn't win. Come on, they didn't win. There was only one team who won and then 29 team who lost. And should we fire all of them? Why are we paying those trainers huge money? Because they can't even play themselves. What are their deliverables? They are just talking bullshit and waving with their arms at kind of out of field. What are their deliverables?
Yeah, again, they are like support role. They facilitate the success of the team.
So to me, Scrum Master's deliverables is an ever improving team. Ever improving team. And if your team doesn't improve, I think you failed as a Scrum Master. The same way you failed as a trainer, as a coach. If your sports team doesn't improve, you failed as a coach. But I don't think it's about winning. Like we don't have enough first places. There is only one first place, unfortunately. But every team can become better than they were yesterday.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I'm actually enjoying it. In a team, you have hierarchy as a Scrum Master. If me and you, we're in a team, you have Scrum Master, I have Scrum Master, and you are leading the pace. Will you tell me you are more superior? Or we are still at the same par and I can give you suggestion as a team lead?
No, and this is where it gets different from a sports team coach. A sports team coach can actually fire people from the team. He can tell the player, you know what, dude, you're not playing next game, right? Scrum Master doesn't have this authority. And I think it's for the good, right? Because you are completely removed of any power over team. We call those people a powerless leader, right? A servant leader. Instead of forcing people, you try to make them think, right? And instead of using this kind of hierarchical approach, you're just saying, hey guys, I just want you all to improve. And I can come with suggestions, but you are free to ignore whatever I say. It's fine. It needs to be a gentle play between those people because one is not superior to the others. And often, think about it this way. Scrum Master cannot be a guru of all the things that the team is doing. So imagine on the team, we have front-end, back-end, designers, database people, business analysts, whoever, right? You cannot be guru on all those professions. So you cannot tell them what to do, right? So we say that the only thing a good Scrum Master could do is actually reflecting back to the team whatever he or she sees. Like, hey guys, I observe you doing this and that. Is this information valuable, right? And then let the team do the thinking. I see Tola has a question. Go ahead, Tola.
Okay, thanks for the presentation so far. It's been great. I just had a question as regards how applicable the Scrum Agile framework is in terms of infrastructure projects. Usually so far I've seen this apply in terms of software development life cycles and all that, right? But for someone like me, I'm an infrastructure guy. So how does this, in a typical infrastructure project, it looks like your standard, and that's back to your initial diagram. It looks like your standard. The scope is fixed. The time and the budget kind of isn't fixed, as it were. But how does this then apply in terms of an infrastructure project?
Yeah, I can. Let me tell you one answer, and then you tell me if this was enough or not. So what we typically do is think about it like every project, even this library application we've been talking about, it needs infrastructure in the bottom, right? What we are trying to do with Scrum, so if this is the amount of all the work that needs to be done in the sprint, and of course, different sprints have different amount of work done. Sometimes we do a little bit less, sometimes we do a little bit more. So this is amount of work, and here we have sprints. So this is sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4, sprint 5 sprints, and the amount of work. So what we try to do when we work iteratively, in the beginning, we put a lot of focus on infrastructure. Oops, sorry. Infrastructure, maybe 80% of all the work that is done in the first sprint is infrastructure work, and only 20% is functionality. In the next sprint, we will do 70% infrastructure, 30% functionality. In the next one, you get the idea, right? We are trying to work on the infrastructure more in the beginning and less as we go forward. So it becomes more and more functionality, less and less infrastructure, but every time, every sprint, we must create both. So if we cannot allow ourselves to only work on the infrastructure and nothing else, because then it's not tangible, right? No one buys from us infrastructure, unless of course you sell infrastructure. But if I say that I am building a library application, then I need to do a lot of the infrastructure in the first sprint, because a new database, a lot of things need to be set up infrastructure-wise. Servers need to come up, but I will do all of this and a little bit of functionality. So maybe just the registration of a client with the phone number and name. But what we are trying to achieve is that we want to prove that whatever we are building of infrastructure is working. So instead of just working for 3 months and then nobody knows if this infrastructure can support the applications, we want to do a little bit and we start putting some things out on it so that it starts working already from first sprint. Does this make sense, Tola?
Yes, it kind of does, but I don't know if it fully answers my question though, because in your answer there, we're still talking about a project that involves developing a software, right? So my question more so is, if I had a project that's solely infrastructure based, so say we're talking network equipment, or we're talking mounting of servers and things like that. Is there any way the Agile Scrum framework fits into purely infrastructure projects and not software development, basically?
So let now I suggest that we become concrete. So imagine I am building a data warehouse, and I will be putting servers in there, racks. Are you with me?
Yep.
So what I will, if I will apply Scrum here, I would probably, instead of drawing cables through the whole thing now first, and then drawing all the coolers in everywhere, and then drawing kind of, I would do it square feet by square feet, right? And in this case, I would draw, if I would apply Scrum, I would say, okay, let's take this corner, let's put in electricity and cooling and the rack, and it's done. And I will kind of spin it up and take it into production, right? And then I say, okay, this is my one room is working already. And then next sprint, I would say, okay, I'll take another room. I will put electricity, I will put cooling, and I will put one rack with servers. So that would be an iterative and incremental approach. The first approach, where I take all the floor, I do all the electricity for 1 month, another month all the cooling, another month all the racks, that would be the old approach. So it's still possible. I'm not sure if you want to do it this way. This is another thing. But sometimes I would say it makes a lot of sense, because you can start earning money sooner. Imagine this huge project can take 1 year to build the whole thing. But in my approach, if I do room by room, I can start getting paying customers already after 1 month. Inia, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. So, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Actually, you say something that is so funny now. As a civil engineer, I actually did all the concreting. You said it's an old way of doing things?
No.
Am I right?
No, I'm comparing the waterfall approach, where we take the whole thing at a time, versus iterative and incremental approach, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not, like, both things are probably old enough. Inia, yes.
What I brought up is a very, very good example of
Nia, we are losing you. Can everybody hear him, or is it just me or everybody?
Yeah, I think his internet is kind of.
Okay. Nia, we couldn't hear you. Can you repeat what you said?
Can you hear me now?
Try.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go ahead. We can hear you.
Maybe not.
Still having some glitches again. Yes, the same.
You freeze, Nia.
I'm freezing? Oh.
Yeah.
But now we can hear you.
Okay. So again, I said what Tola brought up was a very, very good example of application of Scrum in other non-product development environments. But what I want to chip in was that it's just like, again, it's still going back to that user stories. What do you want? Create a backlog and take everything one by one.
Yeah.
Now, instead of now using the word develop, whatever you want to put the word just put it there. Don't use the word develop.
Yeah.
Because again, once we started saying develop, we are going the IT route. Okay. So again, it's everything has to be on a product backlog. What do we want to do? What is our priority? So let's prioritize this thing. So we want to build a new data center. What is the first set of servers we are going to need? Based on speed, based on what parameter? That is a number one. Number two, number three, number four. So we take it from the backlog and we take it down and we do it. Whatever we are doing, I believe that is iteration.
Yeah.
What again, I believe that is personally, I believe that is iteration. So instead of now using develop, we want to develop something. This time around, it is infrastructure guys coming together to brainstorm. And they whatever they do, they fix it together, they done, then they mark it. Product owner, you look at it, we fire this server up. Server one is up and running. So which means we can start putting applications on server one. Then we go back to server, the next thing on the back, industrial fan to cool off server one, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We do this, we do it again. Okay. We call product owner. Now we have industrial fan that can cool off server one so that nothing will happen to server one. Then maybe number three, server two. Again, whatever it is, it's in as much that we don't use the word develop again.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, it's just my thinking anyways.
Makes sense. Good. Do we have more questions? We have 10 minutes left of our 2 hours. The time flies by.
Yeah, my last question for today. As a really
Yeah, I can.
Certification today. Where does spin?
Yeah, Akin, we are losing you. So
Yeah,
we didn't get everything you said. So maybe you can take a question again.
Can you?
Still the same.
Oh, it's not me. It's not me. You see now?
Try again. Yeah, maybe need kind of give back.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I said I'm new into IT. If I pass my Scrum certification, where does experience comes in? Will I be able to lead a team of Emeka that have been in IT? That, oh, I got my Scrum today.
So I have, I can try answering my favorite, about my own favorite approaches, how to get experience if you are new and fresh. So number one is probably going to work for a non-profit organization for a while. You can find a non-profit that you like a cause that you really share, and show up there and say, hey guys, I am willing to pull kind of to do some work for you free, as long as you allow me to organize the process with Scrum, because I want to practice, I want to get this on my resume, right? So I am willing to give you, and then of course, because nonprofits, because you work for free, they are not expecting you to be there 8 hours a day, every day, right? So you can dedicate as little time as you want, as you have. But if you choose, say, half a year, and you do a little bit of work with a nonprofit through half a year, you will get a kind of half a year of decent experience where you can apply, where you can learn more, and then, of course, you can get this on your resume, you can get this on your LinkedIn, you can get their recommendation letter if everything works and they like it, right? It makes a very good, easy entrance into profession, because many times, kind of course, you stand much stronger if you have some experience, right? The observation number two, which I also want to share with you, is that today there are still a lot of companies who are willing to hire people straight after the training without experience, because there are still not so many people with good experience in Scrum. So many companies today, whatever they call Scrum, it's not Scrum. Whatever they are practicing is not real Scrum. Actually, sometimes it's easier for me when I am hiring. Sometimes it's easier for me to hire someone who hasn't been practicing badly. So no practice is better than a bad practice for 5 years, because you will learn kind of all the bad things while being in a traditional company, right? And rather than having a guy which I have to unlearn all his bad habits, I would prefer actually a guy who just learned about it and like a clean slate, good knowledge, and now just need practice. So sometimes it's not a kind of, and often, this is very often, you read the ad of a company, and sometimes even by reading the ad, you will see that they don't understand what they write about. Like they cannot tell the difference between Scrum and horse shit. And you can see it clearly because the way they have written the advertisement. And then where I think you could go there and say, hey guys, yes, I am straight out of training, and yes, I don't have a lot of experience, but the way you guys are writing your ads, you definitely need my help, right? And sometimes they will send you straight to the door for being that bold, but sometimes they will actually listen. So don't be afraid of and another third way that I also, another comment that I can make in this regard is that when companies write their ads, never look at this as like they write, oh, this is all the requirements. We need someone with 5 years of experience and 10 years of this and 5 years of that. This is just a wish list. Never treat it, never disqualify yourself. Like never tell to yourself, okay, because they have written all this bullshit, I will not even go there. No, never say no to yourself. Just go if you think that the company is all right, those guys are okay guys, and you really want to work in this company, go there regardless of whatever their ad is saying. And just try to convince them that you have much more to offer for that company. Like you have other knowledge, you have other experience, and just go there and tell them what you can do, rather than disqualifying yourself, saying that, okay, guys, because I'm fresh on this, I will not even apply, right? So treat it as wish lists and go and offer them something else. Yes, Inia.
So my last question for today, so it's going to be two in one fold. So in the beginning, we talk about a diagram of Scrum, the whole life cycle. Let's just say life cycle of Scrum, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the life cycle, is it like a Da Vinci code that it must be? Is it flexible, or it is how it is arranged in the life cycle of Scrum? That is one. Number two is, personally, I think you made mention of some artifacts. Again, so personally, I think if for a Scrum master or somebody that wants to practice Scrum or master Scrum, I think if someone is able to master that artifact, how to produce that artifact, again, personally, I think the person should be able to be okay. Again, that is personally, that's the feel I'm getting from it. If you can produce that artifact and your ability to share the artifact with the team and then follow the life cycle. Again, I don't know whether it's flexible. I think personally, I think one should be able to be okay, right?
Yes, I think too, like every time, I think we should prefer common sense over whatever else, right? So if you cannot apply all of the ideas, steal a couple of the ideas, right? So if not all Scrum, take a couple of ideas from there and still start applying, you're still gonna be better off, right? If you can do iterations, apply iterations. If you can do some planning and some sprint reviews, do it. So even though you don't take the whole thing with you, because of many reasons, there could be many reasons in the company why they don't want the whole approach, I still think you can use common sense. You can still borrow certain elements of Scrum, as long as you know why the element is there, right? As long as you know the purpose, as long as you know what the outcome should be, I think it's totally okay to use common sense and start applying those elements. And another thing which I also want to make a remark on is that, to me, Agile mindset means more than Scrum, right? As long as you can talk with people, as long as you can talk to your customers, as long as you can make friends with customers and people around you, this means much more than how do you organize your work, right? So first is the culture, first is the mindset, and only then we can look at tools which we are using. So use common sense. Yeah, I would say so. Emeka, yes.
I know time has already been spent so far on this, but I just want to ask, what are the prospects of the Scrum Master? And I know we talked initially when you were talking about the customer and the product owner, and you see a lot of ads looking for, product owner or senior product owner. So how can you relate, to that? Because I know the product owner being the customer,
yeah,
he knows about it. So if you are hiring a product owner, how can we relate that?
So it is probably possible to hire a product owner, but most probably for an existing product. So if your product exists, and imagine that your current product owner is leaving, of course you will have to find someone who will replace him or her, right? It is not an easy thing, because to me, product owner is someone whose eyes are burning to get this thing out, right? Like a typical product owner is a mini founder, a mini CEO of the product, right? So and it requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of commitment to the product. It requires a lot of like, it's your baby. You need to feel like it's your baby. And so most of the time, it's really hard to replace a product owner. When it comes to Scrum Masters, I think this is easier, because as a Scrum Master, you just it's usually not a big deal to change teams, right? It's like a trainer for a team. Yes, you can get a new sports team, and probably in a couple of months, either you make friends with them and they want you as their coach, or you will never make friends with them and you have to change the team, right? So sometimes there is personal chemistry between people, right? And sometimes it doesn't work, but I think Scrum Masters are those people who know how to make friends with teams, and how to make, like, you need to show them that you are valuable, right? As a Scrum Master, you join a team. As soon as you show them that they start improving, they are actually benefiting from you being close to them. They will want to work with you, right? Because every team, of course, wants to improve. Every person on the team, every team member wants to improve. And in this case, I think as soon as you can show them how valuable you are and that you add something to them, they will be glad, happy, kind of having you around. And switching teams is easier than switching products for product owners. I don't know, what was this a question that you thought, or were you thinking, like, what is the progression for the Scrum Masters and where can they, how can they grow?
Yeah, I was just thinking on, well, it's part of it, but I'm also thinking about Scrum Master. What are the prospects?
To me, Scrum Master is already it's already pretty important role. So if you take a look at this, I can draw 3 more things here. So Scrum, I expect every good Scrum Master to work in 3 directions. And those 3 directions are the following. Of course, the team itself. I want the Scrum Master to work with the team and help the team improve, right? Second direction is I want Scrum Master to work with the product owner and help the product owner improve, right? And third direction is I want Scrum Master to work with the whole organization, right? How to change the culture in the whole organization for better. And this one is huge, right? And I would say that when the Scrum Master starts working in a company, imagine our company never knew anything about Scrum and we are just starting. In the beginning, I would probably do a following split. I would put 10% of my focus on the organization. I will put 10% of my focus on product owner, and I will put 80% of my team, because the most important thing for us is to prove that Scrum works in the beginning for the organization. And in this case, you need to work really close with your team so that the team starts delivering results as soon as possible, right? As soon as you are in, let's say you are 1 year into your adoption of Scrum, your team starts kicking ass, people around see it, people enjoy results, people say that, hey, look around, guys, if every other team in our company can be like those guys, we can be more efficient, we can be more productive, we can earn more money. So with time, I would be shifting my focus. So over a year, my team is becoming better and better and better, right? So I will be giving them less my time. So maybe I will, after 1 year, I will spend 60% of focus on my time. I will maybe spend 20% on product owner and 20 on the organization. And then the more years that come, I will be moving my focus to improving the whole organization much more. Then my team after 3 years probably is already good and kicking ass, right? So maybe year 3, I would be spending, I don't know, 20% of my time with the team, 10% with my product owner, and 70% help my organization transition to agile mindset. So I would say that your kind of the focus of your work shifts the longer your company is into the transition. Good. We have a hand from Taylor. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for this lovely and very intensive training. One thing I just wanted to find out, right, because everybody is so used to the PMP certification, right?
Yep.
And my own belief for PMP, maybe fine, it does both methodology, traditional and also agile. But I'm kind of just wondering, why did they divert to the framework using the Scrum methodology? Definitely, obviously uses the agile iterations. But I'm just wondering, why did they have to divert from the normal PMP certification everybody knows now to using Scrum? Though it sounds like a better method, but I just want to know, why did they have to change to that particular framework? Because even now, I know project management certification, they are thinking of changing the whole thing to the agile certification. So I just want to know, why did they have to change that framework, and which body of knowledge kind of came together to form the Scrum framework? Thank you.
So I think when companies are jumping from one thing to another, this is a little bit of politics and a little bit of stupidity because they think there is a silver bullet, right? And because companies believe there is a silver bullet, which is stupid, but they do believe, they jump from one approach to another, hoping that the next silver bullet is just around the corner. So I think all those approaches, they have their own contexts where they can be applied. I can give you a short, let me do this short thing. This is called Cynefin framework. From complexity theory, Cynefin framework. The guy behind is Dave Snowden. Dave Snowden. You can do some Googling and read later. But he tells us that, like, I'll give you an overview of this framework. So he says that the world is not equal, so not all the situations in life are the same. There are certain things in our life, that he calls a situation is simple and ordered. Simple and ordered. And in those cases, he says that those are kind of the parts of our lives which are so easy that you can explain it to children. Like cause and effect is easily seen, and you can tell your children, hey, look, you stop on red, you go on green, right? You kind of, the sun gets up on east and goes down on west, right? So in a situation like this, you could say that if you want to survive in a simple ordered environment, you do sense, you categorize, and you respond. This is like, imagine I go to IKEA, I buy a flat packed chair, I come home, I throw everything on the floor, I sense, I see what is there, I categorize, I can easily see 4 legs, 1 flat thing to sit on, and 4 screws, and a manual. And I know what needs to be done, right? I take the manual, I take 1 flat thing, 4 legs, 4 screws, and I have my chair. So in this case, we can talk about best practices. Yeah, best practice. So if the situation is simple, there is a best practice. This best practice is most probably in the manual. Not all situations in life are that easy. Do we agree? Sure. So certain things in life, and he says like the world gets a little bit more complicated, and he calls it complicated ordered. And in complicated ordered, cause and effect exist, but you need to have knowledge, deep knowledge. You need to be a professional in order to understand this. And your model of survival changes to sense, analyze, and respond. You basically need to, like, if you don't have the knowledge, and let me give you examples so that it's easier. Complicated ordered domain is the engine of your car, right? If you are not a car mechanic, you don't understand cause and effect. You just says, oh, my car does this strange sound. Can someone fix it? And then the guy who is a mechanic, he comes and listens to the sound and says, oh, you know what? This is because this belt is too kind of too tight. Let's just slacken it a little bit and it's going to be all right. So you need to have knowledge in order to do this analysis, and then you can respond. In complicated ordered domain, we don't have best practices anymore. We have good practices, and in this domain, there exist multiple solutions to the same problem. So imagine we are like complicated ordered is math and physics and chemistry, like most of science is here. And of course, if I ask 2 mathematicians to solve a mathematical problem, they can give you 2 different solutions, but the answer will still be the same, right? So we are not talking about best practice, but we are saying, hey guys, okay, both of your solutions are all right. as long as the answer is right, right? I don't care how you came to the solution. Then the world gets even more complicated and becomes complex. In complex domain, the examples would be the price of oil or exchange rate of dollar towards euro, or predicting weather. The problem with complex systems is that there are so many variables that are impacting each other that cause and effect is not possible to predict. It will only be explained after the fact. So imagine someone predicts the weather. The weather is actually like someone says, oh, tomorrow gonna be raining, don't forget your umbrella. Tomorrow it's gonna be sun, no rain. And tomorrow they will be explaining why. Because something changed, right? But there are so many variables that it's not possible to analyze all of them up front, right? So in complex domain, our survival changes to probe, the model changes to probe, sense, respond. You need to do something to the system first, and then see how the system reacts, and then you can respond accordingly. So this is the world where you survive by doing small experiments. And here we can talk about emergent practices. Emergent practices, because what you do emerges of those experiments. In complex environment, you start doing something, you see if it works, you continue doing it. If it doesn't work, you stop doing it. It's a world of continuous experiments, right? And something in complex environment, we say that hindsight doesn't lead to foresight. Something that worked yesterday not necessarily will work tomorrow, right? And this is complex domain. Like cause and effect can only be analyzed after something happens. Last domain is called chaos. Cause and effect doesn't exist. Things are totally random. Nature doesn't like chaos. That's why we don't see a lot of chaos in real life. The chaos is, you can see it in war. So when war or different natural catastrophes like tsunami hits or volcano eruption, right? Like disasters, natural disasters is a typical example of a chaos situation. In a chaos situation, you do act. You need to act, and then you sense, and then you respond. So when you see the bomb going off, don't stand and watch how the bomb goes off. Jump to the side, do something, right? Do something to save you. Whatever you do will probably be for the very first time. That's why we are talking about novel practices. Novel practices. And why did I brought this whole thing into our discussion about Scrum versus not Scrum versus PMI? Because different situations, they ask for different solutions. If you look at the bottom right, simple ordered situation, waterfall is completely fine. Your organization can still use waterfall if you know the outcome, if you can predict what you need, if you can exactly, like imagine on the factory, nobody needs Scrum on the factory. They are producing nails in millions, and the nail number 1,000,001 will be done exactly the same way the previous nail was done. They don't need Scrum there. They can work and apply waterfall. It's completely fine. And then when we talk complicated ordered, imagine we are building huge buildings, pretty complicated ones like skyscrapers, and they still stand. No skyscraper has fallen down because we've been not applying Scrum there, right? Again, nobody needs Scrum to build skyscrapers. We know how to do it. Yes, it's a complicated thing, but we have good people with good knowledge. And this is where PMI can come in, and your traditional project management approaches can still be applied in those contexts. As soon as we talk complex domain, this is where Scrum shines. This is the area. Scrum was created for complex environment. When you don't understand how things hang together, when you don't understand cause and effect, when you need to try and see how it works and then adjust, this is where you need Scrum the most, right? And then, of course, in chaos, whatever, right? Use whatever, just don't die. This is why I think the organizations are mostly stupid if they want to find silver bullet and they want to apply only one approach in their job. Because all of these things exist in a typical organization. We still have room for project managers with PMI. We still have need for Scrum Masters. We still have need for traditional waterfall projects. It's just that you need to use your common sense, thinking when do you need what, right? And organizations usually want one thing to rule them all, which is not so smart.
Thank you, Sergey, and then thank you everyone for joining. This is just explosive. We enjoyed every bit of this session. Thank you so much. It's so beautiful and awesome. If we don't stop, the questions will still keep coming. I know, yeah. I know we don't have the time. Maybe we could book with you. Anyone that wants to do the training, I have done the training. It's an awesome one, and I'm not stopping at that. My session with Sergey was excellent. It was, in fact, I had, high level knowledge of, as if I've been doing Scrum for a long time. So once again, thank you. This is recorded. Once we are done with this, I'll just post it in the group chat, and yeah, we can all access it for those that joined a bit late, so that you can just go back and refresh your memory. So Sergey has his own company that is Usual Concept. If you want to leave us the link of your company or your details, anyone that wants to get in touch with you can quickly do that on their own, and then you can just take it up from there. Thank you once again. And if you have anything to say before we
I just want to thank you, all of you guys, for showing up and spending the time and asking questions. It's been great. It's been a great session. So yeah, thanks everybody. And thanks for inviting Emeka.
Thank you so much. Okay, guys.
Take care,
thank you,
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.